7-year-old Ava had never understood why her father worked so hard. Every morning, Ethan Carter woke before sunrise, prepared Ava's breakfast, packed her lunch, and left for work while the sky was still dark. Their little apartment wasn't fancy. The furniture was old, the kitchen was small, and Ethan sometimes had to choose between paying a bill and buying something he wanted for himself. But Ava never complained. As long as she had her father, she believed she had everything. One Saturday morning, Ethan was fixing the loose strap on Ava's school bag when his phone rang. It was his childhood friend, James. "Ethan, don't tell me you're still planning to miss my wedding." Ethan laughed softly. "James, you know I can't afford all that." "Afford what?" "Your presents." "Come on, man. No excuses. You and Ava are coming. I've already put your names on the guest list." Ethan looked at Ava. Her eyes immediately lit up. "Daddy, please." Ethan smiled. "Fine. We'll come." That evening, Ethan borrowed a decent suit from a friend. He didn't look like one of the wealthy guests who would be attending the wedding, but he looked clean and respectable. Ava wore a beautiful little dress. As they arrived at the luxurious wedding venue, she stared at the chandeliers and decorations with amazement. "Daddy, look at that cake." Ethan laughed. "Don't embarrass me." "I won't." "You promise?" "I promise." For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt happy. He wasn't thinking about bills. He wasn't thinking about work. He was simply enjoying a beautiful evening with a little girl who meant everything to him. After they found their table, Ethan noticed Ava looking toward the drinks. "You want something?" Ava nodded. "Juice." "Okay, stay right here. Daddy will be back." Ava sat quietly at the table. Ethan walked toward the refreshment area, but before he could reach it, someone suddenly stepped into his path. He bumped into her. The woman turned around. Ethan froze. His heart seemed to stop. It was Victoria, the woman he hadn't seen in 7 years. The woman who had disappeared from his life without looking back. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Victoria slowly looked him up and down. She recognized him, and a small, mocking smile appeared on her face. "Ethan." His voice was quiet. "Victoria." She laughed. "Wow." She looked at his suit, then at his shoes, then back at his face. "You're still struggling?" Ethan didn't answer. Victoria folded her arms. "I honestly thought you would have done something with your life by now." Ethan swallowed the hurt in his chest. "Excuse me." He tried to walk past her, but Victoria wasn't finished. "I see nothing has changed." Ethan stopped. She smiled. "You know, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed with you." Ethan looked at her. "But you didn't." Victoria shrugged. "And I don't regret it." Those words hurt more than he expected. After 7 years, he had thought he was over her. Apparently, he wasn't. He turned away. Victoria suddenly noticed Ava sitting at the table. She glanced at the little girl, then back at Ethan. A smile returned to her face. "So, you moved on and got married?" Ethan said nothing. Victoria continued. "Good for you." She assumed Ava was his daughter with another woman. Ethan didn't correct her. He simply looked away. Victoria gave a small laugh. "At least someone agreed to build a life with you." That was enough. Ava had heard her father's name. She looked up. Then she saw the woman standing in front of him. Ava immediately noticed the sadness on her father's face. She stood up. She walked toward them. "Why are you talking to my dad like that?" Victoria looked down at her. Ava stepped closer. "Don't talk to my dad like that." The room around them suddenly seemed quieter. Victoria stared at the little girl. She didn't recognize her, not even for a second. To Victoria, this was simply Ethan's daughter from another woman. She looked at Ethan and shook her head. "Your daughter has quite an attitude." Ethan gently took Ava's hand. "Come on, sweetheart." Ava looked at Victoria one last time. "You shouldn't make people feel bad." Then she walked away with her father. Ethan glanced back once. Victoria was still standing there. For the first time that evening, the confident smile had disappeared from her face. But Ethan didn't stop. He walked his daughter back to their table. Ava looked up at him. "Daddy." "Yes." "Who was that woman?" Ethan paused. "Someone from a long time ago." "Did she hurt you?" Ethan forced a smile. "Don't worry about it." "But she was mean to you." Ethan squeezed her little hand. "I'm okay." Ava leaned against him. "You know I won't let anybody be mean to you." Ethan smiled. "I know, sweetheart." He hugged her. But behind that smile was a pain he had buried for 7 years. Because the woman who had just insulted him had no idea that the little girl who defended him was the daughter she had left behind. And Ethan intended to keep it that way. For now, Ethan took Ava's hand and led her back to their table. She was still looking toward the woman. Daddy. Yes, sweetheart. Who was that woman? Ethan paused. Someone from a long time ago. Did you know her? Yes. Ava studied his face. Did she hurt you? Ethan forced a small smile. I'm okay. But she was mean to you. Ethan squeezed her hand. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Ava leaned against him. You know I'll always protect you. Ethan smiled and kissed her forehead. I know, but Ethan wasn't fine. Seeing Victoria again had opened wounds he thought had finally healed. For 7 years, he had wondered what happened to the woman who walked out of his life. He had wondered whether she ever thought about him, whether she ever regretted leaving. And now she was standing only a few feet away, completely unaware that the little girl who had just offended him was the daughter she had abandoned. Ethan looked at Ava. He knew one thing. He wasn't going to let Victoria destroy the peaceful life he had built with his daughter. The wedding continued, but Ethan no longer enjoyed himself. Eventually, he took Ava home. During the drive, Ava fell asleep in the back seat. Ethan looked at her through the rearview mirror. His eyes became wet. He remembered the day Ava first came into his life, but he pushed the memory away. He had promised himself he would never let Ava feel unwanted. When they arrived home, he carried her inside and tucked her into bed. As he pulled the blanket over her, Ava opened her sleepy eyes. Daddy. Yes. I'm happy you're my dad. Ethan's heart broke. He smiled through his tears. I'm happy you're my daughter too. He kissed her forehead and switched off the light. Meanwhile, Victoria couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Ethan. She kept thinking about Ava. She had assumed the little girl was Ethan's daughter with another woman. But something about that child had stayed in her mind. She couldn't explain why. She finally picked up her phone and called her sister, Sarah. Sarah answered sleepily. Victoria? I saw Ethan today. There was silence. Sarah immediately became nervous. You saw him? Yes. Where? At a wedding. Sarah's heart began pounding. He have someone with him? Victoria continued. A little girl. Sarah stopped breathing. Victoria continued casually. I assume he remarried. Sarah closed her eyes. Victoria. What? Nothing. Victoria frowned. There was something strange about that child. Sarah said nothing. Victoria continued. She was about 7. Sarah's hands began shaking. Why are you telling me this? Because I want to know something. Sarah swallowed. What? Victoria's voice became serious. What happened to the baby? Silence. The question Sarah had feared for 7 years had finally come. The next morning, Sarah couldn't concentrate. She knew she could no longer hide the truth. Victoria had already met Ava, and she hadn't even recognized her. Sarah picked up her phone and called Ethan. Ethan answered. Sarah, we need to talk. Ethan immediately became concerned. What's wrong? Victoria called me. Ethan went silent. What did she want? She asked about the baby. Ethan's face changed. What did you tell her? I didn't tell her anything. Ethan exhaled. Sarah continued. But she knows something is wrong. Ethan looked toward Ava's room. What are you going to do? Sarah's voice trembled. I don't know. Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, neither of us can change the past. But Ethan, I'm not going to let Ava suffer because of Victoria's choices. Sarah started crying. I know. That evening, Victoria confronted Sarah in person. She stood in front of her sister with tears in her eyes. Tell me the truth. Sarah looked away. About what? The baby. Sarah remained silent. Victoria's voice became louder. Where's my daughter? Sarah finally looked at her. You left her. Victoria's face fell. I know that. I want to know what happened after I left. Sarah took a deep breath. She stayed with me. And my husband refused to help me raise her. Victoria stared at her. What did you do? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I took her to Ethan. Victoria froze. What? She was his daughter too. Victoria shook her head. No. He didn't know you were pregnant. Victoria covered her mouth. Sarah continued. When I gave her to him, he didn't hesitate. He took her in. Victoria's voice became barely audible. Where is she now? Sarah looked directly into her eyes. You already met her. Victoria's entire body froze. What? The little girl at the wedding. Victoria took a step backward. No, she is Ava. Victoria shook her head repeatedly. No, that's impossible. She's 7 years old, Victoria. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. You're lying. I'm not. Victoria suddenly remembered the little girl standing in front of her. Why are you talking to my dad like that? Don't talk to my dad like that. She remembered Ava's face, her voice, her eyes. Victoria's knees almost gave way. She was right there. Sarah nodded. You were standing in front of your own daughter. Victoria began crying uncontrollably. I didn't know. The next day, Victoria went to Ethan. When Ethan opened the door and saw her, his expression immediately hardened. What do you want? Victoria could barely speak. Ethan, is Ava your daughter? He stared at her. You already know the answer. Tears rolled down Victoria's face. Why didn't you tell me? Ethan's expression remained calm. Tell you what, that she's mine. Ethan looked at her. You didn't know? No, you never asked. Victoria started crying. I thought my sister had. You thought. Ethan shook his head. That was always the problem, Victoria. You made decisions without thinking about who would be hurt. Victoria wiped her tears. I was scared. You were selfish. She looked down. I know. Ethan stepped aside. Come in. Victoria entered. Ava was sitting in the living room doing her homework. She looked up. Her expression immediately changed when she saw Victoria. You. Victoria's heart shattered. Ava remembered her. The rude woman from the wedding. Victoria couldn't stop the tears. Ava. Ava looked at Ethan. Daddy, why is she here? Ethan sat beside her. He knew there was no way to hide the truth anymore. Ava, there's something you need to know. Victoria began crying. Ethan looked at his daughter. That woman is your mother. Ava stared at Victoria. The room became completely silent. My mother. Victoria nodded. Yes. Ava looked confused. But why did you say I was your daughter? Victoria couldn't answer. Ethan finally told Ava everything. He told her about Victoria leaving. He told her that Victoria had already moved on with another man when she discovered she was pregnant. He told her how she had secretly gone to Sarah's house, how she gave birth to Ava, how she left her there, how she returned to Michael, and how she eventually married him and left the country. Then Ethan told Ava what happened afterward. Sarah's husband refused to help raise another man's child. Sarah remembered Ethan, and when she brought Ava to him, he finally learned that he had a daughter. Ethan looked at Ava. I didn't know you existed. Ava's eyes filled with tears. But when you found out, I loved you immediately. Ava started crying. Why didn't you tell me about her? Ethan gently held her hand. Because I didn't want you growing up wondering why your mother didn't choose you. Victoria began sobbing. I was wrong. Ava looked at her. Why did you leave me? Victoria had no answer. I thought I was choosing a better life. Ava asked, was money more important than me? Victoria's tears fell harder. I wish I could say no. She looked down. But when I made that choice, I didn't understand what I was throwing away. Ava looked at Ethan. Did Daddy take care of me? Ethan smiled through his tears. Every single day, Ava immediately hugged him. Victoria watched them, and she finally understood. She had missed 7 years of her daughter's life. Her first day at school, her birthdays, her illnesses, her little victories, her tears, her laughter, all of it. Ethan had been there. Victoria slowly approached Ava. I know I don't deserve to be called your mother. Ava didn't answer. But I want to try to know you. Ava looked at her. I don't know you. Victoria nodded. I know, and I don't think I can call you Mom. Victoria wiped her tears. You don't have to. Ava looked at Ethan, then back at Victoria. But maybe you can come back another day. Victoria's face crumbled. She nodded. I would love that. She turned toward the door. Then Ethan stopped her. Victoria. She looked back. You wanted a better life. Victoria nodded sadly. You got it. He paused. But I got something better. He looked at Ava. I got to watch my daughter grow up. Victoria began crying again. And for the first time, she realized that the man she once considered too poor to build a life with had given her daughter something she could never buy with money. A father who stayed. Ethan closed the door after Victoria left. Ava wrapped her arms around him. Daddy. Yes. I'm still your little girl, right? Ethan smiled. Always. And he hugged her tightly. Because no matter what happened next, 7 years of love could never be erased. Sometimes the person with the least money can give you the richest life. And sometimes the people we abandon are the very people we spend the rest of our lives wishing we had never lost. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching.